They taught you to memorize the map, but they never taught you how to build the vehicle. They handed you a ruler, a set of instructions, a list of acceptable answers, and they told you that was preparation for life. But they never handed you a mirror and asked, "Who are you becoming?" They trained you to fit into a system, but they never showed you how to rise above it. They drilled equations into your mind, but never asked what you believe about yourself, about success, about failure, about purpose. This, this is the truth about success. They never dared to put in the curriculum. Success is not a subject, it is a war, and the battlefield is inside your own mind. You don't win by being obedient. You win by being awake. Not just smart, but self-aware. Not just educated, but empowered. Not just taught, but transformed. Because no diploma, no degree, no test score can teach you the lessons life will demand of you when you're broke, when you're overlooked, when you're on your knees and no one's coming to rescue you. They taught you to raise your hand, but they never taught you to raise your standards. They taught you to answer the question, but they never taught you to question the answer. They taught you to chase grades, but they never taught you to chase growth. And most dangerously, they never taught you how to fail and still rise. The truth is, success begins where the classroom ends. Not when you follow instructions, but when you write your own blueprint. Not when you meet expectations, but when you defy limitations. Because real success isn't awarded, it's earned, and it never comes with a syllabus. It comes when you choose discipline over distraction, vision over validation, ownership over excuses. No one teaches you that success is lonely, that the path to greatness is rarely crowded, because most people choose comfort over calling. They never tell you that your biggest enemy will look a lot like you. Same face, same voice, same story, but weaker and louder. That voice will say, "You're not ready. You're not enough. You can't handle this." And it will sound convincing, because it used to be your truth. But here's where the old system fails, and a new philosophy must rise. You do not succeed by answering someone else's questions. You succeed when you begin asking your own. Who do I want to become? What am I willing to sacrifice? Where am I hiding from my greatness? When will I stop blaming the world for the power I haven't claimed? This is not a lesson. This is a revolution, and it begins in the mind. Because all success is mental, before it is ever material. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." And that wasn't a motivational quote. It was a surgical truth. Because your belief system is your operating system. If you're running on fear, doubt, or scarcity, no amount of hustle will save you. But if you upgrade your mind, you upgrade your results. You see, the schools told you to seek clarity, but they never told you clarity is earned. Clarity isn't something you wait for. It's something you build, like a statue from marble, like a diamond from pressure. You chisel it out of confusion. You extract it from chaos. You get clear by taking action, by making mistakes, by daring to do the thing you don't feel qualified to do. Because clarity comes from motion, not meditation. They taught you to play it safe. But real clarity, real vision, is born in the fire. When you get tired of being mediocre, when your potential screams louder than your fear, when your soul is done settling, that's when the fog lifts. That's when you see your life not as a series of obligations, but as an opportunity, a canvas, a code, a challenge, and you become the artist, the architect, the author. Not everyone will understand that shift, because most people are still waiting for permission. Permission to start, permission to speak, permission to live. But if you wait for permission, you'll be waiting until your ambition is nothing more than a regret. Because school teaches compliance, but success demands courage. And courage doesn't come from textbooks. It comes from taking the first step before you're ready, from speaking your truth when your voice shakes, from making bold moves with trembling hands, from betting on yourself when everyone else is playing it safe. The truth they never taught you is that fear will never leave, but neither will your power. They never taught you that discipline is freedom, not rules, not restriction, freedom. Because when you control your habits, you control your outcomes. When you control your time, you control your destiny. And when you control your mind, you control everything. You can scroll for hours, or you can build for decades. You can chase attention, or you can command respect. You can follow the crowd, or you can forge a path so rare they name it after you. And that path, it doesn't start with a resume. It doesn't start with a job offer. It starts when you say, I am done waiting. I am done doubting. I am done shrinking. It starts when you turn your pain into fuel, your delay into hunger, your setbacks into stairs, because they didn't teach you that your wounds are your wisdom, that your heartbreak is your honing ground, that the rejections, the failures, the disappointments, they're not roadblocks. They're requirements. Every legend you admire, Carnegie, Edison, Oprah, Musk, they weren't handed anything. They were forged by circumstances, by adversity, by choices made in silence when no one was watching. They didn't need permission. They needed purpose. And that's the one thing school could never teach you: how to find your purpose and live like it matters. Because when you find it, everything changes, not overnight, but from the inside out. And what was once impossible becomes inevitable. Because purpose doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't beg for attention. It demands commitment. It's not found on a bulletin board or in a classroom. It's forged in the quiet moments, when the world is asleep and your soul is wide awake. Purpose isn't a job title. It's not what you do. It's who you become while doing it. It's the reason you get up when everything in you wants to stay down. It's the fire that survives when the spotlight fades. It's what you cling to when the applause stops and the silence grows loud. They don't teach that in school. They can't, because purpose can't be taught, only uncovered. And most people never find it. Not because it isn't there, but because they're too distracted, too afraid, or too comfortable to go looking. But when you find it, when your life becomes aligned with something bigger than comfort, then, and only then, does discipline stop feeling like a chore and start feeling like a privilege. You won't need motivation. You'll have mission. You won't beg for the weekend. You'll build a life you don't need to escape from. You won't measure success by likes or praise. You'll measure it by integrity, by alignment, by whether or not you can look in the mirror and say, I kept my word today. I showed up as the version of myself that I respect. That's the truth about success they never teach you in school. It's not about achievement. It's about alignment. Not about doing more, but doing what matters. Not about hustling harder, but growing deeper. Because when your life is aligned with purpose, everything shifts. Decisions get easier. Energy becomes infinite. Failure loses its grip. Fear loses its volume. And in its place, a new voice rises. A voice they never trained you to listen for. The voice of conviction. The voice of knowing. The voice that says, "This is who I am. This is what I came to do." But here's the other truth no one warns you about. Purpose is heavy. It's not romantic. It doesn't come wrapped in fireworks and Instagram quotes. It comes with pressure, with sacrifice, with weight. Because when you start walking in purpose, you stop playing small. You stop pretending you don't matter. You stop hiding behind excuses like, "I'm just figuring it out," or "maybe next year." No, purpose corners you. It confronts you. It calls you out. It says, "You have gifts inside you that are rotting from neglect. What will you do with them before you die?" It's that serious. Because success, true success, is not measured in what you have, but in what you gave, what you built, what you became. They won't grade you on that. There's no standardized test for self-respect, no GPA for grit, no diploma for becoming who you were meant to be. But make no mistake, that test is real, and life is watching, not with a red pen or a teacher's glare, but with consequences. It rewards the courageous, it promotes the prepared, and it elevates the ones who decide over and over to keep showing up. Even when it's hard, even when it's quiet, even when no one claps, especially then. Because the secret to success that no one ever told you is this: consistency beats intensity, grit beats talent, ownership beats potential, and identity shapes everything. If you see yourself as average, you'll sabotage excellence. If you see yourself as undeserving, you'll reject abundance. If you see yourself as a victim, you'll never fight like a victor. But if you can rewrite the story in your mind, the one they never questioned in school, then you can rewrite your destiny. Because you are not the student anymore. You are the architect, the sculptor, the builder, and every decision you make is a brick in the foundation of the life you say you want. So ask yourself, are you building a prison of regret or a palace of purpose? Because both take years, both take effort, but only one will feel like freedom. And no one is coming to do it for you. Not your parents, not your teacher, not the system, not some guru on a stage. You're the one. You always have been. You can keep waiting for the world to crown you, or you can start acting like the king, like the queen, like the sovereign of your own destiny. They never taught you that kind of power, because that kind of power can't be taught. It must be chosen. And now, it's your move. The moment you stop outsourcing your power is the moment your life begins to transform. Not someday, not when you feel ready, not when you've read another book or finished another course. Now, because the clock doesn't care how overwhelmed you feel. The world doesn't pause because you're doubting yourself. And your potential doesn't shrink just because you've been afraid to meet it. That potential, it's still waiting. Not in the hands of your boss, not in the algorithms, not in a diploma hanging on the wall. It's in you, raw, unfinished, but real and powerful beyond anything they ever trained you for. They gave you formulas. But they never showed you how to trust your gut. They gave you definitions, but they never taught you how to define yourself. They gave you timelines, but they never told you that you're allowed to reset the clock and start again, at any moment, with one decision. Let me tell you something no final exam will ever reveal. Success is not about being ready. It's about being willing. Willing to act before you're confident. Willing to sacrifice before the rewards show up. Willing to be misunderstood while you build what only you can see. And yes, people will doubt you. They'll mock your ambition. They'll whisper that you've changed. Good. You're supposed to change. You were never meant to fit into a mold that wasn't made for your fire. You were never meant to follow a map to a destination someone else designed. You were meant to create, to carve, to forge. Every breakthrough begins with a broken rule, and the greatest revolutions in history didn't come from students following instructions. They came from misfits, rebels, visionaries who refused to let fear, tradition, or failure define the boundaries of their lives. Edison didn't invent the light bulb because he passed a test. He did it because he failed over 1,000 times and kept showing up. Carnegie didn't build an empire because he was the smartest in the room. He did it because he understood leverage, value, and the power of compounding decisions. Disney was told he lacked imagination. Oprah was told she was unfit for television. Jobs was fired from his own company. And yet, each of them kept digging, building, becoming. Because they knew the truth. The world does not reward your permission slips. It rewards your transformation. Transformation doesn't come through comfort. It comes through challenge. It comes when you decide that staying the same is more painful than risking everything. And you will have to risk. You'll risk failure. You'll risk criticism. You'll risk relationships. You'll risk identity. Because the old you has to die for the new you to rise. But that's the real curriculum. That's the syllabus life has been trying to hand you all along. Risk, responsibility, reinvention, resilience. That's the test no one prepares you for. But it's the only one that matters. And when you pass it, you won't need applause. You won't need validation. Because the life you're building will speak so loud, it won't matter who clapped. You'll know. You'll know when you wake up with clarity, not confusion. When your calendar reflects your priorities, not your distractions. When your habits align with your dreams, not your fears. And most of all, you'll know when you no longer crave the old version of you. The one who played small. The one who waited for the world to say, "It's your turn." The one who kept chasing certainty instead of creating change. You don't need more credentials. You need more courage. You don't need another degree. You need direction. And you don't need their approval. You need your permission to go all in, with everything you have, on the one thing they never taught you to trust. Your own power. Because when you own that, when you finally stop trading your genius for comfort, your fire for safety, your truth for tradition, that's when success stops being a theory and becomes your reality, and not the kind they write stories about, the kind that rewrites your story. So, here it is, the final truth they never taught you in school. The system was never built to make you powerful, but your decision, today, can be. Don't wait to be taught. Train yourself. Don't wait to be chosen. Choose yourself. Don't wait to be ready. Begin anyway, because your future does not belong to the prepared. It belongs to the courageous. And you, right now, are standing at the edge of everything you've ever wanted. Step forward, own it, and don't you dare look back.